here to listen to what you have to say. So in case, I know sometimes we're very soft-spoken, so I will have somebody coming around with a mic in case so that everybody can hear, because your opinions may further conversation. So we want to make sure that we hear everything. I have the two ladies on both sides. When we come to questions, they are going to write down the information and want you to know that, first of all, we are taping this meeting in case anybody's shy. And the reason why we're taping it is because I do plan on putting it onto the city's website. We do have a comprehensive plan page, and when we have things like this, I automatically put on that so everybody has the option in order to listen to what occurred during the meetings. Now, I know there was a question earlier about the Saturday meeting. Each meeting is individual and could end up in a different direction, because this is really to hear from you, and what might be interested in this group may be transportation, but maybe Saturday's group may be housing. So you may want to participate in both, because you have the option to hear what everybody has to say regarding these particular items. What I'd like to start off with, and I have first, is a PowerPoint presentation. I tend to move around, so forgive me as I go back and forth because I don't have a remote here, but we're going to start with this, and turn the lights on. Now, I think you guys can see it, right? Okay, so this is just kind of a introductory to why we're here tonight and why we're talking about comprehensive plans. So comprehensive plans are adopted by every entity within this governmental type entity in the state. So you have the county, all cities, generally you could have water districts that could have them. And the intention is to integrate planning. In other words, coordinate the groups together. And I'll give you an example. I was talking earlier where you have transportation. Right? But the cities are the ones who do the development. In other words, we approve site plans, we approve the Steak and Shake, we approve a Chick-fil-A, we approve a car wash, whatever we're approving. That, of course, generates traffic, right? Because people are going in and out. But we don't maintain the roads. Lake Worth Road is maintained by FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation. JOG is maintained by the county. So unless we get a coordination between the different entities, as well as our adjoining neighbors, because what impacts on Palm Springs will impact us here. Or what's going on in unincorporated Palm Beach County in the western part on the other side of the turnpike, traffic is obviously coming through Green Acres to get to I-95 or to get to West Palm. So everything is integrated, and the intention was that these comp plans would all integrate together, where we have to send notice when we do this type of amendments to the comp plan. We do send it to the other entities so they know what we're talking about. So the comp plan, tonight, I just want to talk about this. What is a comp plan? Why is the comp plan important? Why do we need to update it? And then kind of give you a process so you kind of know where we are and where we plan to be. So what is a comp plan? And you can read it right off the top. In short, it's a public guide to community decision making. So this is really to come from the community, not from staff. It's an assessment of the community's needs, a statement of your values, goals, and objectives, a blueprint for the community's physical development, and a public document which is adopted by the government, and it's constantly updated. So the basic products that come from this planning process: the comprehensive plan. We then have land development regulations. You might have heard of zoning code, would be something along those lines, and then ultimately it goes into our capital improvement program. Now, every comp plan is state-oriented. It's by state statute. And we have certain required elements, and these are the required elements, and some of them obviously would make a lot of sense. Future land use, how is your community going to be developed? Transportation, housing. So every one of the comp plans will have all of these elements within them. But you're not restricted to only these elements. So for the City of Green Acres, we actually have 4 optional elements. So one is an annexation element. The other one was public schools facilities, which was required until 2011, but we kept it in our comp plan. And then we're actually introducing 2 new elements. One is community health, and the other one is redevelopment or economic development, which we presently don't have. Now, why is the comp plan important? Comp plan is important because it reflects, again, the city's vision. It provides continuity. you know, your council changes after a certain number of years, but your comp plan is a long-term document, so we should continue on the process of whatever we started with the particular document. It provides guidance for shaping the appearance of the community, prepares us for our capital improvement plan, justification for decisions. So when we're doing things that we want to get grant money, it's nice that we can go and say our comprehensive plan has a policy or an objective that furthers why we need this grant money. And of course, the end one, it's actually statutorily required. Now, we need to update our comprehensive plan because every 7 years, the state requires every entity, and it's different timing. Everybody has, we don't all do it at the same time. It's every year, there's different entities that come in. And in that 7 year, they want you to take a look and determine whether you need to upgrade all your elements, part of your elements, or none of your elements. And we made a decision this year, the city did, that because we had substantial population growth, there's been substantial demographic changes, traffic has changed the way we handle things, we felt it was appropriate to go back, take a look at the elements, and we've notified the state that we are revising our comprehensive plan. So what's the process? So here's kind of our timeline. We started this in March of this year, where kind of made a presentation to the City Council and to the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals, and we did hire a consultant to help with different aspects of this process. We are now in the public participation. I actually held 2 stakeholder meetings, one that was with basically parks and recreation facilities, the other one was on transportation. Both of those were Teams meetings, and they are both on the website. So if you want to go to our community comprehensive plan website, you will see that those are both there, and you can listen to what's going on. And we also, I took all of our goals, objectives, and policies for each one of the elements, went to our Planning Board of Appeals. They reviewed them, so we have that also in place. And now we're doing our community meetings, where we have the one tonight, and we'll have another one on Saturday. And then the City Council, probably in January, will be having some workshops for them to discuss some of the items and concerns that they may have with the comprehensive plan. So that's really an overview. Like I said, I didn't want to spend a lot of time. I really wanted to hear more from the group overall. But I wanted to give an opportunity if anybody had any questions regarding what I just went over or what a comprehensive plan is. I'll take the time now to kind of do that. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Brett Brown with the Historical Society. You mentioned the Lakewood Road and jog. The city does control paving on city streets. Is
that is correct. So for the city, there are different road classifications, and each one of those also has different responsibilities. So, for example, Lake Worth Road is a state road, so that's why Florida Department of Transportation is responsible. Jog is a Palm Beach County road, so that's why Palm Beach County is in charge of Jog Road. But something like Swain, that's a city road. So then we have, but you also have private roads. So those that live in a homeowners association, particularly those that have gates, would typically have private streets.
well,
So
Chickasaw was a private street before, now it's part of Green Acres.
Well, we're in the process of potentially annexing it and making it a city road potentially.
City Road, and like 10th Avenue, that's
I believe that's a county road.
or county.
Okay. All right, so before I get started, I wouldn't mind if we can kind of get a feel for everybody's here. I hope nobody is shy, because this is not what we want. We want to have everybody to participate. So let me ask, by show of hands, how many are residents? Anybody a business owner and a resident? Excellent, great. All right, how many live north of Lake Worth Road? Okay.
My arms get tired.
I gotta stop doing that, huh? All right. I'll be happy if you'd like to go around and you can just introduce yourselves. Since we're such a small group, if you wouldn't mind doing that, I'm going to start on this side. So we'll start with you, George.
George Bayard, IT Director for the City of Green Acres. And resident, yeah.
Austin Lee, Public Information for the City of Green Acres.
Maria, a resident for over 20 years in Dillman Farms.
Great, thank you.
Mal Colvin, resident, retired.
Great. I hope to be someday soon. This table?
Tina, resident of Little Birch, Sandy Catalina.
Great, thank you, Tina.
Terry, resident, Santa Catalina.
Great, thank you.
Adam Kerr with Kimley Horn, consultant to the city for transportation issues.
Perfect,
I'm Barb, I live in Green Acres.
perfect.
I'm Nathan Glenn, I'm also from Green Acres, I'm from Santa Catalina Place, and I ran for office. That's the interesting thing about me, but yeah.
Great.
Jorge Sigler, resident.
Fred Brown, president and
Great,
business owner,
perfect, great. And
business
I'm,
officer.
oh, okay, great. And I'm Carrie Gardner Young, I'm the zoning administrator for the city of Green Acres. I have various helpers, I'm gonna start over here. Harold McMacken with zoning. Samantha Powers, GIS planner, city of Green Acres. In the back,
Denise Malone, consultant for the city of Green Acres.
great.
Chris Steen, information technology for the city of Green Acres.
And last but not least,
Michelle Thompson, Director of Community and Recreation Services for the city of Green Acres. I live north of the border.
Excellent job, appreciate it. So my thought is I have a couple of open-ended questions. So this is really the opportunity for you not to be shy, and what the intention is, both ladies on either end will take the notes and write down whatever thoughts come through. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. Again, the intention here is to guide your city council on what you think Green Acres should be, how it should look, what you like, what you don't. So I'm going to start off with a question, but if you have an interest, if you want to be an interest in housing or an interest in parks, please let me know and we can kind of gear questions in that direction, because here's free flowing, right? So it's going to kind of go what your interests are. So I'm going to start off with my first question. How about this? What does your ideal Green Acres look like? What does your ideal Green Acres look like? Yes?
Accessible and welcoming to everybody.
Accessible and welcoming to everybody. Great. Gentleman back.
Walkable, affordable, and overall a pretty chill place to live.
Great. Yes?
Green Acres would become green.
Green Acres would become green, okay?
Solar power, electric vehicles,
Oh,
charging
okay.
stations.
I'm thinking trees, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay, so,
And also the plantings that go in between the roads, be Florida native, so you don't have to water.
so median landscaping, more native Floridian.
They increase the size of the museum.
Okay,
Historical Society.
this is the time to put your plug in.
And what is that building that's on the right-hand side?
Green, I think that's an old fire station. Fire
And
station,
what is it now?
not there? I'm not sure.
That's a trivia question.
I don't know, why don't you tell us what
Where's
the
it
answer?
located?
Corner of the schools.
I don't know, you tell us.
That's the black and white one?
Yeah, he's talking about this one.
That's like somewhere over there, right?
There's a president of the historical society.
Yeah.
That, what is the old fire station, the first fire station? And it's located at Biscayne and Swain,
Okay,
at the west-south side. I think, yes, I got it right.
somebody said yes.
And it is now part of the the plumbing concrete
Oh, yeah.
place. It's used for storage right now, but you can tell the building is the same because at the very top, there is a drainage for the roof. And if you look at that building, you'll see that there's a drainage, that drainage is still there.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, let me get back to the question that I still haven't heard from some. What does your ideal Green Acres look like? Anybody else want to?
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing, okay?
I can't stress that enough, affordable housing.
Okay.
Because as everybody knows, trying to buy a house, the mortgage rates are like 6% for a fixed rate. And the price is, it's hard to believe a $500,000 house in the original section of Green Acres. It's just, with septic tanks, it just doesn't make any sense. We need more affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing. The sheriffs and teachers, they all need, they want to be close to Green Acres if they're functioning in Green Acres.
So let me ask the group overall. So how do we define affordable housing? So are you okay with a higher density?
Yes. I'm
Yes?
okay with
Yeah,
that.
like
So-
the original section, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be planning. I think you can do 3 on a lot.
It depends on the size of the lot, it depends.
Well,
And then
the
the
original
zoning
lots were
district.
like 100 feet.
But I'm just like in a general, so in other words, if the encouragement from an economic perspective was to bring in apartment buildings, because that would generate cheaper ability, or it could be a condo, but understand that generates more traffic, generates more people, because there's an offset. You guys are comfortable with having the affordable?
But
Please.
the question would be, do we have enough land to handle that? Because we need more schools and more, services, and buildings to provide those services. So do we even have land to be able to grow in that respect?
So it's a very interesting point, and Green Acres pretty much is built out. I mean, there is some land surrounding us, but part of the thought is, Green Acres was what, 1929, 26, 26?
25 it was flat.
25, okay, 1925.
26 it was incorporated.
That's right. It would be time for redevelopment. So, and again, excuse me, let me just finish. So, that's okay, I know you're excited. I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity.
Well, I have
to
a
know.
list up here.
Okay, no problem, we'll get to it. So, from a redevelopment perspective, very common now is mixed uses, right? Where you have typically a commercial underneath and then apartments up above. So, again, we have some commercial shopping centers that potentially could be redeveloped, and do we want, as a community, is that a desire to have that
Look what they
type
did
of
in Lake
approach?
Forge, they built all those complexes and they had no parking. People that live in those apartment places they built, they have no parking, and I hear about them complaining all the time, they built them and they have no parking. You gotta take a look at it, it's all the.
Okay, so one of the issues, and we may come up with one of the questions, is parking may be a concern. That, with the additional density and additional individuals and additional units, we have to consider that potentially.
Which I
Yes.
think is part of the point of it, making it more, not just walkable, but accessible.
Absolutely.
Because walkable, it doesn't encompass everybody. Making it more public transportation friendly would definitely alleviate that. A big part of the issue with land, especially in cities like ours, is the amount of cars. It's too many cars. We dedicate too much land just to keep a car sitting there. And that's something we have to look at, because it is true. Parking is an issue. And if we, little by little, it's not gonna happen overnight, but make it walkable and accessible. You see people not using public transportation, but using other means of transportation. There's people with certain disabilities. If we make it more welcoming to everybody and make the city more friendly, including public transportation, it can help alleviate that.
So let me just follow up. So you're saying accessible. Okay, so you mentioned mass transit. Are you talking, which will be Michelle's favorite down in the back, connectivity? Is that accessible too? You're talking trails connecting from one part of the city. Would that be a desire of the community, that you can literally get from the west side to the east side through trails or through sidewalks that would meet the accessibility? Is that, again, not putting words in anybody's mouth, just giving ideas so that you can come back to
Other
me?
cities have done it effectively. I know Riviera, I believe, made like a big wall that connects a big part of the city, and it leads straight into one of the schools. So it makes it accessible, walkable, and safe for children.
So let me ask you, because typically when you do that kind of design, it usually means you need wider sidewalks, right? So, but you only have a certain amount of what we call right-of-way, right? The right-of-way goes from the sidewalk and includes the roadways. So are we looking then from a perspective that we would shorten, or I should say reduce, the size of the travel lanes in order to accommodate wider sidewalks or the addition of bike lanes? And I see it in the back.
No, but I'm saying with the increased traffic, how would that even work? You would just, your traffic, everyone's gonna be frustrated, every morning they have to go to work, you go to school and all that. That's not gonna be the solution, in my opinion, because
Okay.
too many cars.
Okay.
If I may.
Okay.
I think the problem that we're talking about, traffic, exactly answered by what was just discussed there. Walkability, public transportation, lower the need for the individual, every time they have to exit their house, they have to get into their big vehicle if they just want to go to the grocery store or go to a restaurant. But also, I think the fact that we are so built out, that a majority of our current land is already developed, is exactly the reason why the future housing in the city cannot just be single-family homes in big suburban developments. It has to be, by requirement, based on our circumstance, has to be multi-family, mixed-use housing. It just has to do it. Now, because that is the case that we have to do it, we need to make sure we can accommodate that. We need more alternatives to just driving. We need communities that people will enjoy walking in. You know what I'm saying? That's why mixed use is so nice. And the idea that it can't be done is silly. You know, you look at, I'm not saying we're going to make the entirety of Green Acres into a university, but you look at how many things can go into a university: dormitories, restaurants, obviously classrooms, and it's all walkable. It can be done, it should be done, and if we have the will, we can do it.
I think you had your hand raised, no? Yes? No. No, sorry, okay.
In addition to what he was saying, I use my bicycle 90% of the traveling within Green Acres. Bicycle lanes are important.
That's great. That's being great.
Yeah, you need, well, I ride the sidewalks. I don't ride the road, even though there's a bike lane on Lakewood Road, I still am on the sidewalk. I do as little bicycle riding on paved roads as I can. But the trend in most of these larger cities is to promote bicycle use and electrical vehicles. Mine happens to be an electric bike. The only time I pedal is if I know somebody that's next to me, so I can. With that, now I have to charge the battery at home, but bicycles to me, I'm not working, so it makes a difference, but shopping and gym and museum and all that stuff I do on bicycles.
And there's actually, all the people that do it, it's not uncommon, because when I would go to the office, I see people using the two-wheel ones that are electric. I see people using skateboards. I see people using all sorts of electrical forms of transportation through the sidewalk. Sometimes it is dangerous because of how our streets are designed in the city, because they weren't thought for that. It's not that they didn't want it. But we can make small changes, small, gradual, incremental changes to make it more accessible. I would have no issues, especially since I used to work about 4 miles away, using an electrical bike or something. It's just, you're too brave. I wouldn't risk it.
Well, there's a slash stupid. I've been hit a couple of times.
So let me ask you this question. So from a transportation need, let me put your future hats on. Where do you think our transportation needs for the city will be, say, 10 years from now? Okay? Just think about that for a minute. Where do you think our needs will be in about 10 years from now? Do you think we're still going to be in automobiles? Do you think we have to address, as we indicated here, with electronic vehicles and need to deal with that? Do we think we're going to go mass transit? You see a lot now where mass transit, and a lot of them, if you hear, are using what we call last mile, because that's always an argument, right? You get on a bus and you got to go 2 miles to get to your house. Well, now they're talking last mile, where you can get a free ride from the bus stop to where your house is. Is that something that we think? And again, I'm asking you to put your future hats on, but kind of tell me what you're thinking. Yes?
I love the idea of the last mile thing, that's a great solution to the distance. But I think when it comes to future transport, I think, one, the city's getting bigger, the city's getting more people. I've heard of this concept, I think there's a variety in it, but something like a 15-minute city or something, where the way homes are constructed are in a way that is walkable to different services in about like 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So let's say you're in a new development and you're 15 minutes away from a store, whether it's a convenience store, a grocery store, whatever. You're 15 minutes away from recreation. That has to be kept in mind when we're developing new things in the city, as well as redeveloping older things, because, you know, we've already seen as a country, we've already seen like old areas get redeveloped, so at some point, older areas in Green Acres will be redeveloped. We just gotta make sure it's developed in a way that's focused on people rather than cars, in my opinion.
Yes?
10 years, excuse me, there's going to be automatic driving minibuses that are auto drive. I mean, there's no pilot and you're not driving. We're going to have cars that are self-driving. Our whole road system will change completely because you know, it's not even going to be 10 years. I would, you know, right now they're at stage 2 on the autopilot. Once they get to stage 4, you know, nobody's gonna, all the new cars will be self-driving. And the minibus I like.
Yeah, the issue there will be the infrastructure costs, because you can't do it without having all the technology that goes along with it.
Well,
I can guess what's gonna happen in the future.
Sure.
But we can see a lot of the changes in the city population. We've seen a spike in the population, in the number of people moving here, in the demographics of those people, in terms of age, gender, race, and all that comes with different points of view of how we like transportation, of how we like to move around the city. And there's people that have been living here for a long time as well. All that has to be taken into account. We're all resistant to change, but because of the spike in the demographic, the differences that we're getting, there has to be a little bit of change from the city. I think I can't tell you if the cars are going to be flying, so we're not going to leave the street. I can't, I don't know. But I can tell you that there's a lot of people moving in. A lot of people that I'm happy they're moving in. I like to see a more varied and more diverse community. I'm happy with that. But we have to understand that all of that comes with different incomes as well. We have neighboring areas that are not incorporated within the city for reasons that, you know, are not the topic of this conversation. But income-wise, they cannot afford the same type of transportation as other people. And we need to think about that. We need to think about public transportation. I don't understand how in the city we have bus stops with no shade. When the two weathers in this state is rock melting heat and the luge. And there's nothing for them to cover. And I see elderly people waiting for the bus with nowhere to sit and no shade. I think that needs to be addressed without putting those horrible homeless seats. Yes, that's over another issue. But those are little changes that can be done and will improve the situation.
So I want to follow up, and I'm going to ask you this question. What makes you feel connected to your community? What makes you feel connected to your community? Because you're talking about connection and meeting and diversity. Tell me what makes you feel connected to your, and you can define your community, could be just your development, it could be the city itself, it could be Palm Beach County, it could be the state of Florida. So why don't you start for us?
I want to praise the parks in Green Acres. I mean, to have so many parks, lovely parks, to be able to go and you meet your neighbors, your new friends. I mean, I think that's a fantastic way of community, is when you're going to the parks and meeting your neighbors there in the city of Green Acres. I think that's a great.
So let me follow up, and I'm going to get back to that question since you brought up the parks. So tell me what in the parks, is it that it's just going to, is it going to special events? Is it going to just that there's a playground? Is it going because your child's in a league? Tell me what about the parks is pulling you in?
Well, for me, I have a grandchild, so going to all the different parks, trying everything out. But the events are great because I work in Wellington, and when I see Wellington having all these events, I'm like, I would love to see Green Acres. Like they have the trucks, the food trucks at one time, years ago. I would love to see that come back.
Right?
Food trucks is another great way, again, getting your neighbors together and going to your event for the food trucks. I love that, but we don't have that right now, and I would love to see that come back. So events would be great, because we have that for the 4th of July and, you know, Hispanic month and things like that, but.
So let me go back to the question was again, what connects you to your community? So I have parks here. What do you?
I gotta say one of the most neat experiences I've had in this city is, you know, I'm privileged in the sense that my neighborhood is very close to a Walmart and it's very close to a couple of plazas, you know what I'm saying? So within that plaza where Walmart is, there's a gym. So I walk to my house, there's a gym, I can go to Walmart to get some food for post-workout, then I go back home. Or maybe some days I want to go across the street. Now it's kind of a little scary to cross that street, but it's all right. And I go to another plaza and go to a Chinese restaurant I really like. And I go so much they remember my order. That's the feelings of community that I really like. But it's not something I really experienced throughout much of my younger years. I only really, I could, you know, I tried something new in walking out. But I think most people, in like, let's just say you live in a more suburban area, Olympia-style place, you don't walk to even the nearby plazas. You get in your car and you go, and maybe you'll meet somebody, but it's not like you just go. You want to go to the store, you go in your car, you go to the store, you go back in your car, and you go home. There's no community there. So that's why, again, I really love the idea of mixed housing, where mixed and walkable, where you get the experience like you get in the parks, where you see people, where you, it's humbling in a way. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you're part of something rather than just someone in your own bubble.
So let me ask you just to follow up a little bit. So what I'm hearing is that the economic connection between the stores and the commercial plazas and what your needs are is what's connecting you to the community. So let's talk a little bit about economic development then. So let's talk about the plazas. Are the stores, are they meeting your needs? Is there something that you feel we're missing? Is there something that is good that you want to be able to relay?
The grocery
Yes.
stores, there's a lot of grocery stores and neighborhood markets, which I love.
Okay, so food markets, neighborhood markets you love.
Opportunity to exercise, the gym, things like that. The only thing I've been here, I don't know how long everybody's been here, but I've been here for 20 years and I've really seen tremendous growth, you know, the population is just, and then it's the roads, you know, like say Swain or Sherwood Forest and all the traffic getting from here to there. And there's no left turn signal, you know, and you'll sit there for 3 lights. Like, it's like I was telling you before we started.
So let me ask you, if the intention is to enable the residents to travel from your house to a commercial establishment that you want, is there anything missing? Or is there too much of something?
So more retail, clothing stores, things like little knickknacks, artisan shops, things like that.
So let me ask you, there's the mom and pop stores, and then of course there's the bigger boxes, the Bells, you know, I'm not talking, you know, a Macy's, but, you know, is there a desire of one over the other, or you feel that it should have the mix?
Well, can Green Acres afford? What are the rents like in our little classes that are so empty? Are we more affordable than say like Wellington? You know, if somebody wants to rent a place, or they could.
If I had it, I don't know personally, but if I had to guess, my guess is we're probably cheaper than Wellington. I would have to gather. But, you know, again, remember, from a governmental perspective, we have limited control, right? I don't control rents. I don't control generally property values. And each center has different costs. you know, there are different rental square footages based upon location, based upon what type of stores we're looking for. So I'm trying to get a feel, because again, trying to create that community. You know, is there something that you want Green Acres to be known for?
Something more unique.
Something more
you're not gonna
unique?
see somewhere else.
Okay. Yes.
To draw people.
I would love Green Acres to be known for,
Going around the table.
I would love for Green Acres to be known as a place where you can get a start or settle down, or frankly, if you're in the middle of life and you're grinding, you can come here, work, and grow. I know that doesn't sound like, oh, we have the biggest rubber band ball or something, you know what I mean? But, I mean, look around us, right? I remember 2020, cheapest houses I could find in our area, $900, or $900 a month. Now, or earlier in the year, went up to $1,200, now it's nearly $1,500. We all know that housing is ridiculous. I think the government should do some sort of action in bringing it down. And when it comes to businesses coming here, because it was brought up that there are certain empty plazas, right? Genuinely, a walkable mixed-use housing is the way to help those businesses come there. Because I think one of the big problems you have is that there was too much of something, too much roads. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in my neighborhood, it seems like it's only bubble compared to the plazas over there. And then so compare it to, I guess I'll bring up university again. So yes, there are dormitories and apartment buildings, they're their own things, but you have to walk around. And when you walk around, you see things that catch your eye. You see restaurants you never tried before. You see, oh, there's a barbershop here, I can get a haircut at it for you. You know what I'm saying? So having people walk will encourage business, will help business, and will encourage businesses to come here when you sort of mix that together. And that's my.
So it's an interesting point, because I think, you know, one of the ones was that we need enough roads because we have cars and we don't want to be stuck in traffic. But what ultimately happens is they speed by. And so you don't get this, you know, people are going to be, I'm already gone, right? So it's hard for them to stop. So a lot of times you might want to have a smaller lane. Let me go around the
I completely agree with her as well, but more like small mom and pop places, like we see all the markets and all the stuff,
Yeah.
smaller things. But at the same time, I can't really tell you if we have them because I'm driving.
Right.
Because I'm gonna drive to where I'm going to go. And it's like with the parks, it's like with the community. When you live in a gated community, when you walk around your house, that's how you connect with the community of neighbors. If you're not able to walk and see the places, you're going to drive them by. And it happens to me. I drive to where I need to go, and I miss a lot of the things that are there that I find out by other means. So I can't really tell you what's missing because I don't even know what we have.
That's important. So again, the knowledge is that we're traveling so fast, we don't even know what's in our plazas.
Don't lower the speed limit.
Lower- Yes.
Thank you. Back to the real estate possibilities. I don't know whether anybody follows tiny homes.
I think that, yeah.
Tiny homes, it's only like 1,000 square feet, but it could be a 2-bedroom place. I don't know about zoning. They're almost registered with a sticker through the county, if I'm not mistaken. But you can put more tiny homes. You know, if the zoning allows 3, you can put 3 because they're very thin. They're just like the size of an RV type of stuff. Tiny homes. Also, when you were talking about what is your center of community, I moved here in '79, Pine Ridge. It's changed so much with the population now because the museum is really my center. Because it includes everybody in Green Acres and the history of Green Acres. It's hard for most people to be involved and know the history because they've got so much in the present. That they're, you know, they go to work and they've got kids and you know, the hours that you spend doing your important things. But the history we're coming up to our 100th anniversary for Green Acres. It's hard to believe that we're almost 100 years, well, not me. The museum is, the city of Green Acres is 100 years old. Thank you, Karen.
I think, did you have, I know your hand was up, I don't know.
Oh, when you were just talking about the uniqueness, I mean, I think going green, like we were mentioning in the first page, I mean, we've heard of that unique community up on the west side. What I think of when I say green, solar, of course, having that infrastructure, but the idea that this particular community out west was able to be sustainable, they were able to function when everyone else's lights were out. I mean, if we were to have our, what are those light wires, underground, everything underground, make sure our cell towers are, you know, in good position to be able to get that communication. When a hurricane comes through, if we have that self-sufficient of solar on businesses, on new homes, new developments that come out. I mean, I look at roofs as some of these businesses, I'm like, God, that's a beautiful roof to have solar panels and, you know, just that security, it does provide security, especially with hurricanes possibly getting worse. If we can become that type of city where everyone knows, yeah, that community is really in advance. They've got solar, they've got the safety, they've got the electric wires going under, they rarely lose power. I mean, can you imagine going through a hurricane and we don't lose power, or, that would be wonderful. I mean, that's,
So you would like Green Acres to be known as a green community,
Yes.
right? That's kind of what green. So let me ask you this. You know, the city, obviously, we build buildings, fire stations, community centers. To be green costs more money. Are you, as a community, willing to pay more money to have these facilities to make them green?
But we have to make sure that we educate, okay? Not just the flat out words of it's going to be more expensive. We have to be able to recognize that we're investing. Yes, where there's going to be a lot of money put in, and we need to be able to have the grants and follow through whatever we can. But in the long run, when you look at the long run benefits of it, we're going to be so much more efficient, and we're going to be better off financially, economically, than other cities that are not in that position.
And there's also the component of, yes, it may be more expensive, but how are we using that money? Are we just throwing the money at a developer to build it? Or are we making sure that it's going to small local businesses? Green Acres doesn't track small business participation properly. And that's something you could do. If you're going to do investments in expansion, in growing, in infrastructure, why are we not making sure that part of that money is going to the small local businesses? And you don't have to do it alone. Palm Beach School District has a directory. The county has a directory. We don't have all the businesses that we would need because it's a small city, but neighboring cities do. And we're separated by a made-up line. So them getting business helps our community. Our communities need to grow together. So a big part of what we need to do with this plan is making sure we're putting a part of that money that we're giving developers, hey, a percentage of this has to go to small local businesses. And there's precedent all over around us. Palm Beach County does it, City of Riviera. Let's not go to a big city. City of Riviera has a small business participation program that tracks that. Why can't we? Because then it may be more money, but it's money that we're investing in our community. It's money that is going right back to our community.
So let me, again, what I heard
Got a question.
is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right, so I'm with the Santa Catalina community. It's probably one of the newest communities in Green Acres, maybe 2.5 years old. And so it's townhome units. So in the front, there's a vacant area. In fact, we had like a private meeting with the city about 3 months ago. So it's completely vacant. Don't know how many acres you can describe it. But what's the city's plans for that area in the front? I know in the meeting, it seems like nothing was finalized or confirmed to the residents. And so we got wind of this meeting, so we're here. I'm not sure if that's going to be brought up right off of.
No, it's not for specifics.
So this is a comprehensive plan to the city. Okay, so regarding mixed use, which is great, and that's the future. However, when we say mixed use, the vision is mixed use for our residents in Green Acres. But mixed use also involves, don't want to use the word outsiders, but non-residents. You're gonna have people traveling through, you're gonna stop. So now you have to now say if you live in a community that maybe Santa Catalina, in that vacant area, mixed use. Now we have, outside residents stopping, they may not take the same pride as a resident of the area, okay? And then you have to think about now, unfortunately, individuals that may have some kind of maleficent effect. Like, let me go take a tour of this open access community. So those are things you also have to consider with the mixed use. Like again, if you're talking about now New York, where you have the business functions at the bottom and the residents at top, well, there's security barriers, right? There's access codes. Everyone can just go in and get up to the elevator, but it's not built like that right now. So that's things you have to consider when we say mixed use.
And I think you find,
Boynton Beach has multiple of those new buildings, which are multi-uses, business, sounds like a business at the bottom.
right, and then units on the top.
Yeah.
And they're usually based on the
But that's a fair.
more major roadways is usually where most mixed uses are. They're not plopped in the middle of a community generally. Because again, the intention goes back to, we want to have a density that can use the mass transit, right? So you want them to be along a major roadway, whether that's Military or Southern or Lake Worth. That's generally where you would find these type of developments. And again, the businesses are meant, again, they're supposed to be the dry cleaner, they're supposed to be the ice cream store. It's not meant to be the Bells that's going to bring in all people from, it's meant to generally, and I hope nobody works for Bells, I'm not picking on it specifically, it just comes to mind. But, it's meant to kind of service the residents, to take the traffic off of the road. But, again, they don't have to be owned by residents. It could be, could be owned by someone. But you would think that if they're a business owner, that they would also have some ownership of, where they're located. But, yes.
Back to the real estate, when November 8th comes about, make sure you check that mortgage bond.
Okay, I don't want to talk about that here.
Well,
Talk, please. This is not, I'm not allowed under the law, that's not what the purpose of this is.
Well, constitutional issues, you can't.
But that's not the purpose of this meeting. So let me just stop here. We'll get your, that's why we're asking affordable housing.
Yeah.
We're hearing that, but let's not talk about that individually. So let me ask this next question and let me come through. If there's one thing you can think of that would improve the city, what would that be? There's one thing that could improve the city, what would that be?
At this very moment?
Yeah. I think you would say better roads.
My thing is the traffic,
Traffic. Traffic. So if we could improve, what we're looking for is to improve. Now let me ask you, traffic circulation, traffic speed, traffic timing, traffic encompasses a lot. Modes of traffic. What do you feel would improve Green Acres in the transportation area for you?
Well, that would be not Green Acres, that would be either the city or the state with the roads.
But we can, again, we talked about at the beginning, what do we say? This is coordination and cooperation.
Yeah.
So we certainly can go back to, look, we can go back to Florida Department of Transportation and say, this is not what the look of Green Acres wants. I can ask, and hope they listen, but if we don't say what we want, they'll do what they want, right?
Exactly.
And that's the intention of
At that
this.
school, there's a map where you can put a comment in.
Yes, you can.
And I've done that and used it and I've got feedback.
Yes, you can.
It's a problem, you see all the incidents from
Yeah,
Forest Hill and Jog,
I know, that's my issue.
Lake Worth and Jog, and now they put the Aldi's in, which I love Aldi's, I'm there like every other day, but if we could build up and build a little bridge to go over across.
You laugh. But But you go down to Hollywood,
Uh-huh.
they have bridges like that, pedestrian bridges right over.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, pedestrian bridges,
Well.
or bicycle
Pedestrian
accessibility
bridges are a
bridges.
great idea,
Mhm.
until you think that not everybody can climb stairs.
No, they're ramps. You have to do, because we have to be ADA compliant, so we have to do ramps. But it's not cheap, which again, but I'm not asking for money, I'm just asking for ideas, right? It's like my husband comes to me, don't ask for money, but let's get ideas so that we can relay this information
And then you have
to
to
the
think
city
about the
council.
safety, like, you have to go up, so somebody can get shoved off because some jerk is just gonna say.
Well, that's what
"Oh, I
they usually do,
can't."
they usually do protective, they have, you
Yeah.
know, stuff that usually, and then we follow them, we want something on the roof so that they don't get rained on or get hot in the sun, right?
Yeah, but I like the idea about the underground, you know, the wiring.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Putting
And
a
if we
lot more
can't-
cabling, electrical
So
system.
the utility
underground.
lines underground,
But that's a big investment.
it's huge,
That is a big
it's
investment.
huge.
Pedestrian, where the high traffic is.
They do have small businesses to do that.
Street, so you don't.
But for
It's
Power
huge.
and Light, their agenda is to put cables underground because it benefits them as well.
Yeah.
Because of rain and hurricanes, you know, to have the lines under, I mean, our condo was built in 1980 and all of our cables are underground.
You know, and when you're unlucky, right? Mine are all underground, but it hits the transfer station, so my electricity went down. I was like, it was great, I had it underground, but it didn't help me any, but every little bit helps, as we say.
I think a lot of what the city could use is that connectivity, that being able to
I'm sorry,
go
say
to a
again?
park, that's connectivity. Being able to go to a park with your grandchildren, with your friends, making it accessible, making it like, it may not be walking distance because things are designed the way they are and things are far. But moving forward, keeping that more in mind. Yeah.
So let me ask you, from the parks perspective, I'm doing that because Michelle's in the back. Neighborhood parks, there's different types of parks, right? There's neighborhood parks, there's regional parks, there's community parks. Do we want a park facility that has multiple soccer fields or baseball fields that you can bring tournaments in? Or should we be concentrating on the neighborhood parks, or both? I don't know.
The city's too small for big tournaments, I think. What
Okay.
about little fitness parks or something, something like that?
That's a complicated question because
Why do you think I asked?
we have to look at the demographic change that we're having. We're having a huge Latino population, we're having a huge Asian population, and we can't just go and build a park on what we think we like because we like baseball and football, but that's not what those communities play. Latino population is more geared towards soccer. Asian population is more geared to certain types of community activities, which are soft-paced, certain types of games. I don't know the names, I'm not gonna butcher the names. One where you throw a ball. For elderly people, games that are more, and you see that in more European countries. In Spain, I saw it a lot when I lived there. There are a lot of parks that the types of games and fields they have, and they don't use a lot of space, are more geared towards the elderly population. And that way, the elder population we have here, and the people that are going to, hopefully we're all going to make it there, we have access to facilities that are more geared towards our needs.
So I'm hearing is that we should have more accessible parks, which would include, I'll say, mature adults,
Yes, keep them in mind.
disabled
Yes,
children or adults, and to the needs of the community,
yeah.
right? So get to know your pulse, get to know what we need. Is it baseball fields or is it soccer fields? I don't know, whatever it is.
Do we
Yes.
have pickleball?
We do have pickleball over at Freedom Park.
Is there any way to say we have one of the larger parks offer something to a professional sports team? So they could have they could have their practices in the off season or as the start of the preseason.
Good idea.
Something like that.
Again,
Okay, Hildy.
it does, as a matter of fact, Wellington is trying to do something like that. But again, is that, and that's what we're trying to get from you today. If you want that, we'll relay that to the council, because the issue comes late. because you need something big. And it's different, again, it goes back to what connects you to the community, what do we want to be known for? Because when you bring in that type, like when I was working in Broward, the Panthers, they have practice. And that's where they go. They went to Coral Springs, there was an ice rink there, they donated a lot to the community, but they were noted for doing that, So if you bring the team, very competitive, very competitive. I'm not saying that it's something we could do, but again, we're not here, can we do it? It's here if we want to try to do it. So we certainly have an idea, maybe we can bring in a team or a farm team or something in regards to doing practice or facilities here. I'm sorry, yes.
But here's the thing, that sounds fabulous, but one thing I answered on the survey is we're going to need a hotel. We don't have, correct? We don't have a hotel, so if we want to attract, even if we can have a hotel just to be extra for Wellington, because Wellington has a lot of the equestrian type of events, but if we're going to also bring things into the city with our parks and teams and things like that, we need a place to stay, to have them welcome to be able to stay in our city, revenue for our city, and for the stores and so on. A hotel. Right.
So maybe a hotel, especially if we plan on bringing in events from people from out of Green Acres. We need to have a facility which helps, obviously, restaurants. It goes back to your point. We're now bringing it back to the community, them using the restaurants.
Yeah, so if you have that where you have the stores and the restaurants, that atmosphere that you were talking about a little bit ago, it will be connected then to a hotel next door.
Gotcha. Yes?
I really like that idea. I spoke to someone, I think you know them, about that idea. There's a good spot for it. But I guess going back to the discussion on parks, I think, honestly, when it comes to like the big green, walking around, playing on the playground kind of parks, we do have a decent amount of that already. Like, I think we're probably good. The main thing we got to focus on that is maintaining. I do like the idea of when new neighborhoods are built, right? Let's just say we're building one of those mixed-use, very walkable areas, and they get to have a sort of their own, I don't know about many, but like their own version of this community center. A place to play the sports outside, basketball, maybe it could be also made in a way that attracts events. Let's just say like there's an area, like the basketball court could attract, I don't know, let's just say a local boxing tournament or something like that, for example. But I think at the core of that though is we're looking at what we want to do in the future. We also need to look at what we're doing with the zoning, when we annex new things. I can only, I got limited experience in paying attention to what goes on in Green Acres, but there have been 2 meetings that I've been in where new annexed land was discussed. They were able to get the annexed land. And in both of those situations, if I'm correct, if I'm remembering correctly, the land was given to developers to build single-family units. So I mentioned earlier, like, I rent for office. I was told on many occasions, like, oh, well, we can't do what they're suggesting because we have such limited land. But every time we get new land, we give it to a developer to make inefficient land, like land grabbing sort of developments. And I think in the future, next time we do annex, I know we're trying to annex more. I know that the county can be kind of tough with that. We got to be careful with it. I would recommend housing, affordable housing, and housing with a lot of people, because that's the pressing issue for a lot of individuals. I was at Lake Worth, and when they declared a housing emergency, I was at the meeting. It was something. It was an experience seeing all those people there that are like, I work very hard in the field. I can't afford to pay my place. I got kids. We don't know what to do. And they have a similar housing market to what we have when it comes to prices. So I can only imagine the amount of people dealing with that same issue, but we just don't have like the organizing that they have in Lake Worth on the ground level. But yeah.
So a couple of things to that, just so that you know, the city generally doesn't give property, right? What we do is we designate the zoning for it, right? But when you talk about, and that's why I said government has limited abilities on these certain areas, because the market is generally going to generate what gets built, right? You're not going to build something that you can't sell the houses, because then they have money that they lost. So if single family is what the public is asking for, that's what they're generally going to build. It doesn't have to always be that way, but again, I just want you to understand the market plays a substantial part in what occurs within our jurisdiction that the city doesn't always have control over.
I do have a clarifying question. Like, I'm kind of curious, this community center, when it was built, and same with like the city hall, like, I'm assuming we had to hire a group to develop it, to like build it, but who like owns it, who maintains it, I'm curious, does the city just do it? Or-
So when a building is built by the city builds it, we go out for bid, so it's a public process where we hire somebody to do the design, and then we hire somebody to do the construction, and then we're responsible for the building. Now, there are some instances, you probably read in the paper, that cities do lease out to others. They may build it, they may get money back through leasing. That's not what we do here. When we build it, we do it. So let me follow up, I'm going to follow up with the housing. Let me ask this question. Are you satisfied with the housing options that are available in the city now? And if not, what would you like to see? I heard some, but I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. I'm kind of hearing less single family, but I don't know. So why don't you give me an idea? Are you happy with the housing choices here? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes?
Sorry, more affordable.
Well, again, I'm going to go back. What's affordable? Okay? You could have.
Well, the average price in Palm Beach County was 300 and maybe 80 or something.
Let me stop. Maybe I'm not clarified. When I talk about affordable, I'm going back to, is it a affordable single family? Is it affordable, high rise? Do you want we don't have a 7-story building here. Now, that's going to bring your prices down because you have more units. But is that a look that you as a community are looking for?
I am okay with that.
So again, when I'm talking affordable, I'm not necessarily talking about price, but what's the vision? Because affordable is nice to say, but what does it mean?
It means multiple family. Lucerne Lakes is like 6 stories. I'm in favor of condos because with ample parking, and to me that would I don't want to say restrict, but we have a lot of condos in Green Acres, and everybody kind of knows that, and we have a lot of retirees that live in these because of the price. When I bought in 1979, it was $37,750, $37,000 for my apartment, and I don't have to worry about anything because I'm in a condo. I had a house, I had to take care of the yard, the painting and everything. So for us mature, age-wise, it just made more sense for me. But the disadvantage for Green Acres is that our assessed values don't increase as fast as a single-family home. So there's a difference. There's a difference in the tax base that Green Acres, for the millage rate.
Millage rate applies across the board. The millage rate only varies based upon the value of your house. So depending upon what the value is.
I have an assessed value. I'm in a condo.
Everybody has an assessed value. And because of saving our homes, which has nothing to do with the city of Green Acres, it can only rise by a certain amount. But
I think you bring a very good point. Do we want?
Wait, Denise, did you hear that? I said I did a good point.
Do we want to look of a 7-story building? And it's not that I dislike it, I have no issues with that, but it's what comes with it. And not just in terms of car, not just in terms of parking, is what we have neighboring our city that we have not incorporated because reasons that we're not going to mention, but we have trailer parks that if you were to develop into big buildings, you create more space, true, but then you're displacing the population. So we need to be careful in how we do it, that we don't gentrify, which already this city is being gentrified left and right. But we need to be careful in how we do it, in the steps we take, that if we're going to develop areas to increase availability, accessibility, and affordability, that we give a sense of priority, not sense, of security to those people we're trying to make it affordable to, and not just making high rises affordable housing that people with money are just going to buy because they're affordable and nice, and then we lost the whole thing. And that's where we need to be careful, because I'm privileged. I live in a single home house, comfortable, nice gated community. But that doesn't mean that I don't want a city where I can walk places, where I don't have to take my car to go to the 3 different stores that I go when I go to do grocery shopping, when I could just, they're within this example, Walmart and Publix. You shouldn't need a car for that. But Jog and Forest Hill are not necessarily safe streets to walk when it comes to the traffic. So we have to be careful, but you bring good points.
So I think the question here is, as you improve a neighborhood, the values now go up, and the individuals who are living can no longer afford. So now we're kicking out a population that we may want to keep for diversity's sake. So it is a competitive where you've got to deal with that. So I'm hearing from everybody, we got to be careful and make sure we take that into consideration, that we're not basically kicking people out of the city because we're improving in some way, however you define that, is what I'm hearing. Is that what I'm seeing? Head shaking yes? Yes?
I'm agreeing with you and also our taxes, or let's say assessment, cannot go up any more than 3%.
I'm saying your home.
Does that sound right?
Your assessed value, your assessed
value.
value can't go up if you're homesteaded. Okay, if you're homesteaded.
Is that right?
Your homestead.
Well, yeah. So I'm thinking of these people that are older, that you're talking about, the people that are in their homes, and it's fair. And the 3% helps residents that own property in Green Acres. So to be displaced, I would sell mine, because where am I going to go? I'm going to have to take a current value where my assessed value is a lot lower than what the current value of the apartment is. So we'd be foolish to be displaced. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense, right?
Well, in your situation, it may not.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody who owns a building, and you're living in the building, and then they're gone, so. And yeah, so. So we're at 7:15, we're leaving. I haven't heard. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Frank.
Frank,
Yeah,
welcome.
I live here in Green Acres. The only thing I would say about multi-rise houses like that, these roads can't support that traffic. As it is right now, like this trailer park over here. I mean, I had 3 lights the other day coming into Swain because traffic was so bad there. And I can't imagine what it would be like if you had multi-units. I haven't been out in a while, but I see they're building some kind of apartments on Jog Road, just west of Jog, and south of Lake Worth. And Jog has roads going down that road. Wow,
That's
so
the
much
fountains,
traffic there.
near the fountains.
Yeah, near the fountains.
Yeah.
An unincorporated.
Which is unincorporated,
Yeah, which is why I say even our neighbors impact us.
Right.
So that's why this process is so important, that we talk with each other about, what we're doing, why we're doing, how we can do better. So
So basically, I don't think our roads can support the.
right. Well, again, the intention would be is that if you have enough what we call density, that it does make it economical to have a bus line to, so walkable where now businesses will come. Because, if you don't have enough patrons to your business, you're not going to stay in business. So, again, you hear a lot in the business about rooftops. Enough houses come that it makes it economical. Now, some big businesses like Publix are willing to take a loss until the houses come because they want to market, they want to basically keep everybody out. But if you have mom and pop stores, you need to have enough people visiting so that they can generate enough money in order to, keep their business going. But like I said, we've got about 15 minutes left, and I'm going to ask this one question, and we'll end with this one question. So I'm saying, do you have any additional comments or suggestions regarding the future of Green Acres or the comprehensive plan process? Yes, sorry.
I'm curious how fast can we get things done? I know like with a lot of things, it can be kind of slow processes and all that stuff, but let's just say, we're aiming to build some affordable housing, like real affordable, I know we were talking about the definition of affordable, but something that won't make someone go broke, just because they have to pay rent. So it's being done, let's just say it's like 5 stories, and we're building mixed use, there's gonna be businesses and all that stuff. So if we if it's agreed that we're gonna commit to that and it's gonna happen, how long would that take to get done? I'm just kind of curious.
It depends on what you're talking about. I mean, if you're talking about, permits, generally you put certain things such as that on a fast track if you can. But, again, there's a lot of pieces that come together. You have to get the financing, you have to get the land, you have to get the market. And all those pieces have to come together in order to generate that. That's why you see a lot of things going on in different counties and different cities, because you've got to bring all the pieces together. So I think it's to get to it takes longer than once you're there. Once you're there, you know what the process is you need to implement, and then you go forward with the implementation. I'm sorry, partner. You had your hand
It's
up.
been so
Nope.
long, I forgot.
Okay, well, we'll give you time to come back.
I wanted to agree with Maria.
Okay.
In reference to the hotels. The last time we had a decent, excuse me for saying that, a larger hotel was the Holiday Inn out by the Turnpike. I mean, that's where I had people stay because, they knew what they were getting into with Holiday Inn. We have some smaller hotels that aren't a national chain, that hopefully they're, maintaining and doing, what they're in business for. But we don't have a large hotel, and I also wish that we had more events at the Sam's Park. Because you've got a great event.
More special events over at Community
And
Park.
July 4th, is always the best, and if we had more regular events that attract people coming in, like a band, every other something, or, anybody else can throw in there, but utilize that park more to draw people to the center, type of a thing.
So utilize the parks more to bring more people in.
Yeah,
however
because
you
we have
define it.
ample parking. I want to say we have ample parking, but that's a great park. I don't know whether the tennis courts are still available, or whether they have pickleball there or not, or is the baseball field still there, or is it now soccer? We lost this great baseball field, softball field that we had off of 10th Avenue. I go through all these pictures of all the girls' teams and the boys' teams and all the games that were played at that venue. It was sorry to see it go to soccer, but soccer was the trend.
Unfortunately, that's
that was in the
change inevitable based upon the needs.
I think I've liked the ideas that I've heard. I like the idea of a green acres, more accessible, more walkable. But all those things have a connotation, not entirely based on reality, but a real connotation of cost. There's a cost associated with it, and the notion is that it's a higher cost. And that's always an also. We need to be able to make sure we're supporting the small local business. That's the one way we can develop.
Local business.
That's the way we can develop Green Acres. By developing our residents' business, by developing, because that's how we're all connected. That's why the school districts do it, because by helping those businesses, we're giving financial stability to the parents, so the kids can focus on school. We need to do it in the same way. We need to be able to say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Whether we're gonna make it Green Acres or Green Acres, we gotta put this money that we're spending, we have to spend it in the community. We cannot expect to just build and magically, no. The city has to be the first one to spend its money in the community. And I have the IT person here, and that always comes, tracking that is always a whole thing that always falls on IT. But you have neighboring cities, organizations that do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Riviera Beach has been doing it, Palm Beach County has been doing it, the city of West Palm Beach, school district, rely on them. They have their own directories of small businesses with addresses, with zip codes. Use that. Because the only way you can sell this when it comes, and it's gonna come, and it's gonna cost more, however you do it, because of the way prices are going, the one way you can definitely put that out there is by making sure that money is going to go to the community.
I've actually heard too, that if we want to go green, Maria was nice enough to justify,
Yeah.
don't just say it's going to cost more money,
Yes.
but justify
It's an
why we're
investment.
doing this. And then the other is, what you're saying
Put it in
is,
the community.
try to keep the money in the community, encourage the small businesses.
Because Green Acres is too small. You don't have a lot of construction companies, you don't have, but neighboring cities do. And again, we're separated by an invisible line that doesn't really
That's
exist.
right.
You develop them, it helps your city.
So if you guys don't mind, I just want to give two people
Yes.
the opportunity since they're here. Adam, who is our traffic engineer, he is helping us on the transportation element for this comprehensive plan. I want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions or any comments that you feel for this group tonight.
I mean, I've just been listening and taking notes. I think transportation, it's a challenge to, there's growth. If everyone still wants to move in the way they do now, that requires, more roads, faster roads to move the same amount of traffic. Or, the way to reduce that is through, through our land use and the development patterns that some people have talked about here. To make things more walkable, and maybe it's not every trip that's walkable, but with a couple trips a day, you can walk to the grocery store instead of drive to the grocery store. Things like that are what really reduce the traffic, and so just trying to understand sort of the desire and the appetite for that, for promoting through policy that type of land use in our redevelopment patterns.
Is there anything that this group can provide to you to help you with the drafting of the transportation element, or you think you've gotten kind of the flavor of what the desires of the community?
I've gotten the flavor. There's a lot to think about.
Great, thanks Adam. I'm going to go, Michelle, I'm going to give you the opportunity now, if there's anything you'd like to ask of the group, or clarification, or anything that you would like.
I think as far as some of the events, like the frequency of those, for food trucks or concerts, and then the time frame, like would it be like January through March, would it be weekly, monthly, all those things?
We have that much money.
Well,
This is a
you
good-
have to look at our budget,
So let's take first at a time. So the question is, I think, the season. When, is there a particular time period in months would you want us to concentrate in the fall because the weather's better? Do we want to avoid the hurricane season? Do we want to do it during the summer when the kids are out of school? These are all questions I don't know. Is there a desire of time frame? And maybe there's not, but she's asking the question.
I think that's a great question. And I think due to the change that Green Acres is seeing in the demographics, I'd like to see less just cover the bases, Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. No, look at the population that we're having. First of all, Hispanic is a mute term because you're not encompassing the Latino community. Because Brazilians are not included. Even though we include them, but that's another issue. look at the people that are coming, what population we have. Within the Asian community, we have a big Korean community. Why don't we do something to that community? We'll all come because it's an interesting thing. We get to learn and connect with each and every one of our community. Just because we're doing something about them that celebrates their heritage, we will all learn and we will all benefit. Same thing for the Mexican community. Dia de los Muertos. If we have a Brazilian community, something to that, and don't just lump all of us into one group, because then it just feels like, you know, and I know it's not the intent. That's not what I'm saying, but I think that will connect our community more. Because then, and it'll be more exciting. You'll have people from other places coming, because how many Korean events do you see in other cities? Not that I can think of. So I think that would make it more exciting, more fresh, and it would make it more welcoming to the community that we're seeing now moving.
So I think the request is more events, more connected with the population or the demographics, is I think what you're saying.
All of the events that the city sponsors and pays for are all inclusive. So then we have our co-sponsored events like Fiesta de Pueblo, like you mentioned.
Yes.
So, you know, we are the property owner of that event and we are the co-sponsor, but we're not the event organizer. So I think sometimes there's a misconnection or a miscommunication to how the community sees, you know, who's organizing the event. But it is open to the public, all of our events are. And so, you know, I think back to like the concerts or, you know, any kind of the food trucks, it's always been open to the people as well. It gets a little pricey and we had to stop even our green market because we didn't have enough vendors, you know, we didn't have enough people to support the vendors. So, you know, it's a complicated process and it takes a long time to develop. And so, you know, if we have the vendors, they need the traffic, right?
Yes.
They need, you know, otherwise they go to another municipality. Same thing with the food trucks. So we were doing it weekly, so then we thought, well, let's just incorporate the food trucks into the community events, because then they're not losing business and everything else. And then some of our, you know, economic needs of our population, the people can't afford, you know, a hefty cheeseburger price every single Friday at a food truck event kind of thing. So we have to be conscious of that as well. And that's why some of those things that we did offer didn't continue, because it wasn't really cost prohibitive for some of the vendors that we were contracting with.
Yeah.
But, you know, as far as back to the trucks, the food trucks and the concerts, monthly, weekly, seasonally, like January through March again, or when the weather's cooler, like Karen said, any direction like that would be great.
In conjunction with what he was talking about, we are multicultural Green Acres. I would like to see every month be designated some demographic, the demographics that are in Green Acres. An event could be at the Ferrera Park, Sam's Park. But if we recognize all of the demographics, the top 12 or something, every month we do a different nationality, let's say. Because I would go to learn and see, and you're learning about other cultures. If it's Korean month, you learn about the Korean. You know, there could be tables for stores or whatever we have here, or anybody, local businesses could have tables at these events. But
to your
every
point,
month I would
you
like.
don't organize those. Those are pretty much brought up by the community.
Yes, because we don't want to exclude another demographic, because, you know, that's not the nature of our business, per se.
No, I know.
So we have an event and then we open it up to vendors that want to participate with that, you know, or want to have a booth and then, you know, explain their cultural, you know, flavor to that. We actually had a Flavor Fest month one time, or an event that was kind of like a cultural heritage event. That was a few years ago, you know.
So what I would say to that is that if we make the effort to do these things, You have to be our ambassadors
Yeah.
to go and encourage people to attend so that they are successful and we can continue to offer the choices. Yeah, Maria?
So just really quick,
Yeah.
haunted house, I think this would be a great area for a haunted house, maybe next year. Transportation, trolleys,
Yes.
maybe electric trolleys, not gas, electric trolleys. And my last point is involvement. This was a great setup, but my concern is that there's not a lot of involvement from the residents and businesses. And I know you guys do a really great job of getting the word out, but if we don't have the involvement, how much of this gets to this comprehensive plan?
So this is what I kind of say, is that you're a representative of multiple people who are not here today, right?
I do not
Right?
think that's
So from that perspective, you may think you're one, but you're actually representing others, because there'll be others that have the opinion. You're right, I mean, it's the old adage, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. We tried our best, which again is why we put the survey on the website, so everybody can participate, set up meetings in the evening, and then on Saturday, trying to get people involved. You know, having public meetings where we're advertising the fact we're talking about these things. But we do understand that for most people, this is not what your day-to-day concern is. So you are the representative, and I'm going to kind of close out shop here. Thank you all for attending. I know you could have been doing something else instead, so thank you for coming. If you have, I always feel it's an opportunity to let me know if there's something we could have done better, something that we could have done differently. I would love to hear with you. I'll stand in the back for a while. You can let us know. As I said, this tape will go on, I don't know when, but as soon as we can, we'll put this tape on the comprehensive plan website. Please encourage people to listen and encourage on the survey. And with that, again, thank you all. Have a great evening and appreciate